and roll. All right, so we are on Monday, September 19th, and this is a pre-review session to our Wednesday session. Here to answer questions. I know we've had some challenges. Some had challenges on chapter 4, the last couple of questions. There is a spreadsheet available that was posted onto Blackboard and accessible. Did either of you use that?
I used it a little bit.
Okay. You did pretty well with module 4 homework?
There were a couple that I just couldn't get.
Okay.
I will say.
Yep, that's par for the course. I just wanted to let you know, and we're going to talk more about it Wednesday, what's going to be on the exam. I'm not going to be requiring that level of detail of the no-pats, the no-nos, the na-nas, and all the other calculations to go with that. So I'll specify what I'm really looking for, but I did want you to get a feel for some financial analysis that gets pretty heavy duty. And obviously, you've got a feel for it, for better or for worse. But as in accomplishing those exercises, welcome. How are you, Kristen? We're just talking about homework and that I'm not going to be requiring all the level of detail for the exam with all those chapter 4 formulas. But Wednesday, I'll let you know what I'm really looking for in a little more detail.
I'm still here. I just have somebody that's going to pop in my office for 1 second. So I'm going to turn my camera off so I'm not a distraction, but I'm here and I really want to hear this. So just don't think that I'm, not paying attention. I'll be right back.
Not offended, not a problem. Do what you got to do. So when we talk about these, when we're using these formulas for financial analysis, they can get pretty involved. There are all kinds of criteria that folks will use to evaluate a company. As an example, what you're not seeing in the annual reports in a hotel or a hospital might be occupancy rates. What you might be seeing on a retailer is sales per square foot. High-tech firms often have sales per employee. And those aren't coming out of your balance sheet or your income statement directly, but you can calculate revenues divided by number of employees. Now you've got a new ratio. So the ratios that are standard are the ones you were practicing in chapter 4. So I wanted to give you a good chance to get some exposure to them. Again, it's not going to be heavy duty on the exam. Some of them will be included, concepts might be included, but I'm not going to have that level of detail because these problems can take a half hour, 45 minutes. And if you got 2 hours for an exam or less, I'm not going to give you 2 problems and sink or swim. So the goal is to have you get a taste, a feel, and understanding. Low risk environment. It was on homework, but you have access now. And I'll repeat that Wednesday too as we talk about that. So anything in particular you might like reviewed, covered, discussed, either generally or specifically?
I will say I specifically had problems with questions number 4, 9, and 10 on the homework.
Okay. And 9 and 10 was, I'll walk through the spreadsheet. I'll actually share my screen.
Okay.
And go over to, so here we did, so it's a little bit big on the screen. So we went through, and so question 9 goes in, and we had these calculations to go through. And I'm going to actually expand this over here. Nope. So I did a little example of algebra here. This was emailed to you. So if you have a rate and the NOPAT and the NPPT, all right, you combine these, you're trying to solve for one and you've got the other two. So I did a little bit of basic algebra here, trying to figure that out, coming up. So how do we calculate the net profit before tax? Well, we have to have this recapture, this tax shelter stuff, because there's above the line, the operations from your business. And then there's this below the line stuff, which is often like if you have you eliminate a division. That is presented net of tax. There are other items on there presented net of tax. So other income, other expense, net of tax. So you have to plug the tax back in there. It's called a tax shield. And with that tax shield, we go back in and we go in and make some calculations of where that looks like. And then we come up with what the total after tax result is. Because you already took the taxes out from above or you're taxing, you took the taxes out from some of the items, and the items you took the tax out, you need to add the tax back in, is all you're doing. So that's what got tricky in number 9. And if you can kind of see that flow, that would help you along with. By the way, the homework is due tonight at midnight, 11:59, not yet last night. I did switch that over. I actually had 2 students as of Saturday that had some challenges that wanted some extra help. And then I got 2 requests saying, I got soccer, I got other things going on. And if you do have things, life happens, if something goes on and you need an extension, don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, the assignments do turn into a pumpkin, but life, you know what? You guys are working hard, and most of you are working full-time as well as school, as well as other obligations, and family obligations. So I'm here to work with you, not against you. What's important is kind of the understanding of what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I don't want to be trivial and say, well, you know, in real life, you have deadlines, don't you? Well, that's okay, because we're all adults here, I hope. That's the flow. And then we get to question 10. Same thing, we had a tax rate shield we had to work on. And we had to go through, we looked at our operations items and then our non-operating items. Our non-operating items for assets were our long-term debt. Our non-operating item, I'm sorry, for liabilities. Our non-operating items for assets were cash and cash equivalents, short-term investments. And then we come down, we got total equity. Sometimes we need to take averages. So we have average net non-operating. And then we have an average of equity. So the spreadsheet, kind of plug in the numbers, it calculates it out. We go down, return on net operating assets, we have the calculation, and we have the spread, and we combine those 2 things. And we go a little further down, net income, a little tricky, net income to Costco and total net income. Those are 2 line items. One is you've got stockholders, publicly traded, that's profit attributed or net income attributed to stockholders. Same thing for equity, it gets separated, but you want total equity of everybody. But here you've got both net income attributable to stockholders, and they call it non-controlling interests. That's the folks that are reserved, but not controlling. So the publicly traded shares for the general public, that's the majority. So we have to calculate equity attributed to these shareholders, not held back by owners for whatever reason. This is stuff that's publicly traded. So we get total equity and equity attributed. So you notice total equity is higher than equity attributed to the shareholders. And then we have this funky ratio. We get a nice long calculation. Pop it up here. We have the averages. We got 2 averages. We're going to take the net income averages and net equity averages. And that's how we calculate that out. So that's what 9 and 10 were about. And that's why I guess I sent out the tip spreadsheet to hopefully make it a little bit easier for some, make it more complex for others. But again, I wanted you to get a feel for what a financial analyst goes through. Get a feel for what it takes to do some of this heavy duty analysis. Some of you will be investors. Some of you are already accountants or professionals, financial professionals. If you're coming to the tutorial session on Monday, I'm guessing you're not. So, and that's okay. But getting a feel for what others are doing, and you might say, this is kind of cool, or you might say, I never want to touch this again. And either way, you've learned something. But either you appreciate it more when somebody else does it, or you say, you know what, this isn't so bad, I can do this. And it's going to help me make my investments or my analysis, whatever direction I go. Does that make some sense? I don't know if that helps with your questions, Kate.
I think it does.
So I encourage you, by the way, by all means, review the spreadsheet.
I will say, so I wasn't quite aware that it was due today instead of last night. So I did submit it last night with a few of them blank just because I couldn't figure them out. If I was to press the reattempt one, would it update like a grade in there, or is it just kind of done once it's submitted?
You know what?
Which is okay.
I actually think you should be able to reattempt,
Okay.
but honestly do not know.
Okay.
So I would encourage you to reattempt,
Yes.
and let me know from a
Okay.
student perspective if you could. That would
Okay.
be,
I'll keep you posted if that works.
and if you don't have time to do it, don't feel obligated. I'm not,
Okay.
something else for your plate, but I would appreciate it. You should be able to get back into it. You submit it,
Okay.
but you can always you should be able to resubmit it, except for quizzes, which you can.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Should I just submit mine, Dr. Dell, as is, since we have problems with Cambridge?
Yeah, I put a note out to Cambridge. They're usually pretty quick to turn around, but if you don't hear from me by tonight, go ahead and submit. By the way, we found some errors on Cambridge on the my business course site. Then when we did some calculations. So Christopher and I were calculating. And it's funny, he said, if I may share, he said he talked to a couple other CPAs, they came up with this answer. And I was able to say, I just spoke to another CPA who came up with the same answer you did and they did. So you're doing the right thing. But I'm convinced that the book is wrong on that. So I'm going to be submitting a change. I also will share that the homework is algorithmic, which means, Kate, you have different questions and numbers from Kristen, who has different question numbers from Christopher. So it's algorithmic. It's non-cheat thing. You can't say, hey, give me the answers. What number 10, A, B, and C. Just give me the answers. I'll plug them in and go. So obviously we want to avoid that. Not that anybody in this class would do such a thing, but the idea is we want to make it your work and make it effective. That's why we actually have respondents and we go down that path too. So the answers are not compatible with each other. And I actually don't see the final answers until you submit. So if you say, well, you do the check and you find it wrong, and you say, well, Scott, can you give me a feeder? I have to go in and calculate them just like you do, and I'm happy to do that. But I don't see the correct answers until, in this case, midnight tonight. I'll see all the correct answers for all the exercises, and I also checked grades and I saw where people are at so far, which is one of the reasons that yesterday, I think there were like 3 or 4 of the same announcement that I put out of this weekend, and the last one saying I was extending it to tonight, just to let people know. So I post announcements pretty regularly, as you probably guessed by now. I used to email and post announcements. Now I'm relying more on just the announcement side, because at the beginning, not everybody is checking announcements religiously. But the emails were going out, personal emails. So hopefully that gets you some additional direction and insight.
For sure.
All right. Other comments or questions?
We covered a lot last night. Like I said, my mind is at ease now, knowing that everything was where it needed to be. So yeah, I'm pretty good. I guess Wednesday the quiz became hot last night, correct?
It became hot this week. Usually Saturday midnight, I make them hot.
Okay.
So it's available through Thursday. So I say Sunday through Thursday, but it comes online Saturday midnight, if you're up.
Right. So I'll get that knocked out today then, and I'm pretty much ready to go on to chapter 5. Are we going to take a hiatus week, or are we just going to keep pushing through with the exam and everything together?
I actually delay the exam by about a week, so you have more time to do the exam and the quiz. So no, you want a vacation? Gosh.
No, I'm in a hiatus, but as in not picking material.
Not that you haven't earned it or deserve it, but we keep steady through the semester because it's online, and I've got people taking vacations, and some folks have left the state as of yesterday. So yes, they plan accordingly. So you plan accordingly. Most of it's online, accessible, so you can pretty much. But if you have conflicts, just let me know.
Okay.
And if you need 2 sanity days and you need an extension, let me know.
No. All right. Other than that, I think I'm pretty much good there. So thanks again, sir, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Kristen, anything? I don't know if you're still in your meeting, or Kate. I think we're good.
I think so.
Excellent.
I'm definitely going to go in and try to reattempt tonight, and make a list of any questions that I have to then
If you
bring.
want, by the way, if you want some help tonight on number 4, we can do that too.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. All
Pleasure.
right, talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kristen, I don't know if you're still there. You might be. I'm gonna sign off. Stop recording, make it available.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Dr. Dell.
Pleasure's mine. Any other questions you had? I know you had your meeting, but
I promise if, as I'm going through, if I come up with something, I will shoot it to you or text it to you, okay?
sounds like, yeah, email is better than text because I.
Okay, will do. I'll
I
email you.
see better on the screen, so.
Okay, I understand. Thank
But
you.
You can always text me saying, I emailed you. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
you're welcome. Take care, Chris.